Today, I'm happy to be joined in conversation by Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. He's recognized as one of the top 50 most influential sales and marketing leaders in the world. He is the author of High Profit Prospecting and High Profit Selling. And next March, his new book, A Mind for Sales, will be released. Mark is also one of the co-founders of OutBound. Last year's event drew people from 17 countries, and in just 4 years, it has become the largest sales conference focused 100% on outbound selling. The focus of his work is helping to influence and impact others to help them see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. He's been quoted in Forbes, Inc., Entrepreneur, and Bloomberg's Business Week. And clients he's had the privilege to work with range from the Fortune 100 companies all the way to small startups. Mark travels more than 200 days per year and has spoken on 5 continents and 28 countries. To find out more about Mark, of course, visit his website at www.thesaleshunter.com. So, hi, Mark. It's good to see you. You look really nice, man. You're sitting out there on that patio.
I am, doing a little time in Phoenix, although it's a little chilly. It's about 60 degrees, but it's sunny. And considering it's almost the first part of December, I'll take it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. You are a visitor. I just can't get over you. Traveled like 200 days per year, 5 continents, 28 countries. I'm honored that you were able to take the time to be able to sit down with me for a few minutes to talk about sales. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Why sales? What got you into this and into presenting on sales so much?
Well, it's a long story as to how I got into sales, because I didn't set out to be in sales.
Really?
Sales kind of found me, and I won't tell the whole story because it's kind of long. But really, what I found is that sales is about helping people, and if you really take the time to think about what you do, you're helping people. And if you believe in people, and think about the wedding industry, what is that? That's all about people. That's all about believing in people. Yeah. And if you do that, then really, for me, sales. I mean, I could be a photographer. I could be a wedding DJ. I just chose sales as my medium to be able to interact, to be able to reach, to be able to help other people.
That's awesome, man. I've had the pleasure of being able to speak to you before, and one of the reasons that I reached out to you is because so much of what you talk about relates to what we do in the wedding industry. And I want to focus today on bridal shows. Bridal shows are it's like a cattle call in the wedding industry. You open the doors and thousands of brides and grooms will come through a venue, and there's hundreds of vendors, from photographers, videographers, caterers, wedding professionals, wedding planners, DJs, and these couples just get overwhelmed with information, people shoving information into their hands. But the real test, not just at the bridal show, comes in after the bridal show, and making that follow-up contact with the bridal show, with those individuals. And I know so many wedding professionals are actually, and I got to be honest, even for me, it's a little intimidating to do that cold calling or prospecting, if you will. What tricks might you offer that might make it a little bit easier for these wedding professionals to do a follow-up with couples?
Yeah, let's back up and realize there's really 3 types of people who attend wedding shows. And I'm not saying the groom, the bride, and the mother. No.
Okay.
I'm talking about those that are walking through to make a rush decision. They're going to, today at the wedding show, they're going to do. Then there are those that are viewing it as an experience. That's the vast majority of them. They're got the engagement, got the wedding maybe coming up the following year or something like that. And then there are the aspirationals. They're just the ones who, well, one day when I get married, I'm going to do this. And, they're just the dreamers. And you really got to kind of separate the 3. Right. And what I want to do is I want to focus in on who are the ones that are viewing the wedding show as part of the experience. Right. It's the experience of getting married. I got the date set. Maybe it's anywhere from 3 months to 24 months, but it's set. I'm collecting information. I'm gathering insights. Those are the people you want to. And this is the whole key thing. We are helping them with their experience. This is so key. It's so easy to think that we're just a photographer. We're just a wedding DJ. No, you're not. We're just a force. No, you're not. You are helping them. And one of the things that you want to do when people come, and there's multiple ways you can gather names. You can, hey, have them, just fill this out, and
right.
you're eligible to win this. But you may get a chance to talk with them. You want to try to have that little piece of conversation with everyone, because here's the magic. This is what's going to separate you from 98% of everyone else out there. We'll say that Rachel and Jose come by, and you get a chance to talk to them for just a moment. And Rachel says, yes, it is unbelievable. It's planned. We got 65 relatives coming, but it's going to be an experience. So guess what? When you can play back to Rachel a few days later, say, hey, Rachel, very special to know that you've got 65 relatives that are going to be coming to your wedding. What's Rachel going to say? He remembered.
Absolutely.
Ron actually remembered. Boom, right there. You're in the top 2%. Because you're not selling a wedding service. You're creating an experience.
Absolutely.
And when you can connect with them in that level, because you remembered something about them, you showed interest in them, boom, you're there. And that's why I say you really got to do the follow-up within about 48 to 72 hours. And I know this can be tight, but you're going to separate it. You're going to separate it. You're going to separate, and you're going to contact those who you spoke to first. Those are the ones, because you got that little piece of information. So you can pick up the phone and call them. There are others that you got just their email, you got their name, right. You got their, email, phone, whatever. And so that's going to be in your second tier. But I want to reach out to those initial people that I had a conversation with quickly, very quickly.
One of the things I know that we've talked about in the past is that determining who your ideal customer is. I mean, in that moment when you have at a bridal show, before the follow-up, do you have a way of being able to determine, well, first off, let's talk about the importance of understanding who that ideal customer is, and then how do you single those individuals out as they're coming through the bridal show?
Well, the wedding industry can throw you a lot of curves. We've all seen those where the bride and the groom, or maybe it's the bride and the bridesmaid, the best friend, the maid of honor is coming through, and they're like, and they come across as the ultimate decision maker.
Right.
No, it's the bride's mother.
Right.
I mean, so many times the bride's mother plays a much bigger role in the wedding. The 6 words that the bride's father always hears, show up, shut up, and pay up. We've heard that joke 10,000 times. So sometimes it can be a little bit concerning as to how to find who is the decision maker. Now we're seeing a lot more couples who are saying they're taking on the whole wedding themselves. They're paying for it themselves. You tend to see that in the older couples. They may be more in their 30s. They may be more in their late 20s. But again, it's very deceiving. So you really have to treat everyone as the decision. But at the same token, it's asking magic questions. And the magic question is going to be this. What's going to be the process you're going to use to help you determine who to use? And you just kind of ask that like that. Well, what's going to be the process you're going to use to kind of help you make this decision? It's a key decision. And you're listening for them to say, oh, well, I got to get my mother involved. I got to get my parents involved. You're listening for little signals like that. But you ask that question in a very non-threatening manner. Hey, this big day, have you kind of thought through as to how you're going to kind of make decisions as to who you're going to choose? And you kind of ask that, and you're giving them good eye contact, and not to interrogate them, but just to invite them into a conversation. And suddenly, you know what's going to happen? They're going to share with you. Oh, well, we've decided to pay for the wedding ourselves, or we've got just a certain amount of budget, and you're going to hear those things. Those are the cues. Those are the magic cues. Right. Because it's going to help you determine whether or not this is somebody I deal with or not. But here's the whole thing. Just because they say, I can't afford you, or we're going to do this, don't rule them out. Because here's the whole thing. Weddings are emotional. And that means budgets get thrown out the door pretty quickly. Oh, as one who married off his daughter, yes.
So you're all too familiar.
I
with
am all too familiar with this.
Yeah, and well, I want to back, and I got ahead of myself, and I feel really bad. I want to go back for a moment because you said, we were talking about photographers, videographers, all of that. You're not what most people. What I find is a lot of folks don't understand that they're selling far more than just photos. They're selling. I'm again getting ahead of myself. When a bride and groom come to you, yes, they need, I'll use photographers as an example. They want somebody to take, or they need somebody that can take photographs for them. They need somebody that can be there to capture all the special moments. What they really want is memories. They want to have those pictures of their friends smiling and mom and dad with the tears, and those are the things they really want. But they need a photographer, but they want these other things, and so often we get caught up in the needs rather than even thinking about the wants. As a wedding DJ, I know that people need sound, they need lights, they need music. What they really want is for their guests to have the time of their lives. What they want is that praise at the end of the night as the guests are leaving to say, you threw the best party I have ever been to. And they want all of that gratification, which goes far beyond the needs. And if you can address the wants, it makes it far easier for you to, I hate the term justify, but for lack of better words right now, justify your price a little bit. If you can make that emotional connection through the wants of saying, this is what the end result's going to look like. Let me paint you that picture. Would you agree?
Oh, agree. And this is why you have to emotionally connect with the person. We'll use the videographer. If you think about a video, there's multiple ways that I can video a wedding. But if in talking with you, and you share with me that your grandparents are going to be there, and what they mean to you, and as a videographer, I'm going to make sure that I capture a couple special moments with the grandparents. I'm going to make sure that I capture that. Or okay, so we're getting married at 2:00 in the afternoon, and well, it's very interesting because the sun at this particular venue always comes through these windows. And when you can sit there and share with them, it's interesting. I did a wedding at that venue, and here's some things we did to really capture the oh, wow. That plays in what is so damaging. And I'm going to use this for my own daughter's wedding. My daughter hired the DJ, and DJ says, well, just, give me the list of the wedding party and all that sort of stuff, and I'll read them. And my daughter said, no, you won't be doing that. Well, no, I always do that. It's part of the price. No, you won't be doing that. You don't understand my father. My father's going to do that. He's going to be too emotional. And he says, and I remember because my daughter said, no, you don't understand my father. He speaks for a living. He's very comfortable doing that. He wants that honor. And it was funny because the DJ wasn't taking enough time to really understand what his role was going to be and what his role wasn't going to be. And he was almost viewing it like, they're going to cut my fee. No, we're not going to cut your fee. We're not going to cut the fee. No, just because, you're not going to do all the intros, the proverbial welcome, the wedding party. No, it's creating the experience for the couple. And this is what's so key. Before you throw out a price, this is what I tell everybody. Before you throw out a price, you have to understand what is the emotional experience the couple's looking for. What's the outcome? What's the memory? What is that special memory? And if you can get them, in a question I love asking, what are the 2 or 3 things that you've seen in other weddings that you say, wow, that was a wow moment? Describe those to me. And you just get them to share that with you. And you just listen. This works if you're the caterer. This works if you're the florist. This works if you're the video. This works. I don't care who it is. You just get them sharing. Because again, you know, how many times have we seen a couple where, today, this afternoon, golf carts going by. I apologize. Hey, this afternoon, we get to go do the cake tasting. Oh, that's a big event, right? You know, I mean, we're going to do the champagne tasting. I mean, we're going to do all those things, and you have to really stop and understand it's part of the experience. That's part of the experience. And here's the whole thing: you, as a professional wedding person, have done hundreds and thousands of weddings. It's just you've seen it all. Yet you've never seen this one that you're about to do.
I made the mistake years ago. I've been in the wedding industry 28 years, and I'm going to guess maybe in my 5th or 6th year, I was what's called a multi-op. So I had lots of DJs working for me, and we were doing, I don't know, 5-6 weddings every Saturday. And I remember having a bride call me one time, or a bride's mother called me one time, and she wanted to do something with the itinerary. I don't recall the exact context of the conversation, but I made the mistake of saying to this bride's mother, I said, "Oh man, we got a lot of weddings this weekend. Let me see if I can find it." And she goes, "None of them." And she stopped me, and she was very firm. And she said, "None of them are as important as my daughter's wedding."
That's and you got it.
that was a very quick lesson in things you don't say. And so, yeah, I mean, and it was one of those turning points for me, even of realizing, you know what, she's absolutely right. None, to me, it's 5 or 6 weddings. To every couple you work with, it is the most important wedding and wedding date ever. That's their day. They don't care about anybody else that's coming along. You spoke a few moments ago about asking information and listening. One of the things that I love to do when I meet with a couple is I go deep into, tell me about how, when I first sit down in a sales consult, I will say to a couple, so tell me about yourself. Where are you from? Where'd you go to school? What'd you major in? Where are you working? It's okay. So now let's get to the fun stuff. Tell me all about the two of you. How did the two of you come to be? Where did you meet? When did you meet? How did you meet? When did he propose? Where did he propose? How did he propose? Oh, were you surprised? Oh, you worked me. I see the ring. Oh, it's beautiful. Did you pick it? Did you guys shop together? Oh, no, he picked it out. What a brave guy.
I love asking, because then you say, hey, let's talk about how we weave those same experiences into your very special day. Absolutely. And again, what are you doing? You are now behaving like only the top 1%. And suddenly, price, not an issue at all. Price is not even in the cards.
No, and here's the cool part about it is that you can go back and repeat these. If you're really paying attention, if you're listening to what they're telling you throughout the course of a conversation, you can keep referring back to some of the things they said. You mentioned about your daughter's wedding and how she didn't think that the DJ was listening to her. That's because weddings are not a checklist. It's all about what it is that particular couple wants at that particular moment. So trust, I think what we can definitely agree on is that trust is currency here, and emotion is even bigger currency, or gold, if you would. It's maybe the gold standard of trust.
Trust is so key, because what is the wedding all about? It's about two people trusting each other, right?
Right.
So when you can have every vendor, and I hate using the word vendor.
I do too.
It's the emotional. And again, I can't think of the exact word I want to use, but it's you know how when you meet somebody and you just simply connect with them,
right,
and they become part of you. It is amazing how it just changes completely. You know, again, one of the challenges we have working in the wedding industry is as we're interviewing people, we also have to determine as to whether or not we want to work with them. Because I'm sure you've seen some that you go, this is a train wreck. This is a train wreck. Right? I mean, how many times have you had this gut feel that this wedding is going to be a disaster? I'm sure you got some stories there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do. I don't know that I want to share. But again, I think for me, it goes back to before I was really investing a whole lot of time in getting to know my couples, determining who my ideal client was. Do I want the customer where it's going to be a train wreck? I can usually tell throughout the course of a conversation whether or not, and in a way, the word train wreck is even maybe a little strong, but just you know that this couple, it's really good example, kind of. Years ago, I met with a couple with a family, with the parents. Had a great meeting. And after it was all over, the parents, obviously, they loved me. And a few days later, I get a call from mom and dad, and they say, we want to book you for our wedding, from our daughter's wedding. What I learned at that very moment, actually, after what I learned at the first meeting a few days later with the bride and groom, was that never take the parents' word for it, that the bride wants to book you, because she didn't want me. The bride did not want anything to do with me. She wanted a band. And for the next 4 months in the planning process, it was like pulling teeth getting information, because they just did not want to cooperate. And I don't know if they were just doing it in spite of mom and dad or what the deal was, but I learned. And I've had parents call me since then and say, we want to book you for our daughter's wedding. I said, you know what? That's really great, but I need to hear it from your daughter, because if she doesn't really want me, this is going, it's not going to work. I appreciate the fact that you like me, but I want to hear from the kids, unfortunately. And sometimes they'll ask me why, and I'll say, because I had a situation once where it just didn't work out too well. So let's move a little bit forward on how do we take, okay, so the bridal show is over. One of the things that you said, and in a presentation I heard you deliver, was with each person I meet, I earn the right, privilege, honor, and respect to meet with that person again. And that resonates with me, that somehow just being able to meet with you kind of gives me an advantage, because now I have an opportunity to speak with you again.
Yeah. Huge, and especially in the wedding industry, because every wedding leads to another wedding. If you think about it, where there's one couple getting married, chances are there are other friends getting married.
Right.
So this whole thing, if I can create this special experience, a special moment, and if I can be seen as the person who really took the time to get to know you,
right,
really understood you, and really cared for you. One of the very simple things, and this is a very simple thing, you have a bride and groom, they want to hire you, want to do this, and you're getting the information, and then you ask them this very simple question, so when's your birthday? And you find out that their birthday is maybe 60 days before the wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Think about that. You send them a birthday card. You do something special for them on their birthday. What does that do? It just enamors them, because here's the whole thing. The selling process you go through helps them understand what the wedding day is going to be like. Or, if we're going to do some video shoots before the wedding,
right.
That tells you a lot. So if I can be seen as this person who just connects with you, and this is especially key with photographers, because photographers, you're capturing emotion, and you gotta, it's already a very emotional day.
Right.
But you got to be able to have them, when they look at you, there's a smile on their face. They are creating the ultimate Hallmark Channel movie right there with you in that moment. That's what you want to do. And that's so, even after you've sold the engagement, you have to continue to build and build and build and build.
Absolutely.
Because what that's going to do is that's going to ensure that you get 1, 2, 3 more engagements out of the wedding that you're doing. Every wedding that you do is nothing more than a sales call you're being paid for. Think about that for a moment. It's a sales call you're being paid for. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Well, one of the things you also going to using your words, Mark, you are just so quotable. You talked about always, and I'm a huge believer in this. You talked about how always be closing is a thing of the past. Today, it's always be adding value. And so when you, especially when after a bridal show, or even at a bridal show, instead of constantly just focusing on, again, going back to the needs, I have, oh, you know what? I've got a 50,000 watt sound system and these lights that blink and flash and do all this stuff. If you're not constantly adding information to giving them something of value that they can use for their wedding, they're not going to be nearly as inclined to want to book you because you're no different than anybody else out there. I used to do a presentation as a part of a bridal show called 5 Fun and Easy Ways to Wow Your Wedding Guests. Basically, it was a sales presentation put to a seminar. So for an hour, I could stand in front of 35, 50 couples and just deliver information and show them video and just have a bunch of ha-has for a few minutes. But I would actually be able to get, I would have meetings, get at least 50% of the people that were there would meet with me afterwards to talk about their wedding. That doesn't mean I booked all of them, but it meant that they would actually, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. Now, maybe other wedding professionals don't have that advantage of being able to do something like that at a bridal show, although I would certainly try because you're giving the show content, which the show producer should appreciate. But even at that, think of in terms of what you're talking about with a couple is delivering, in a sense, a seminar. Here are the things that we can do or you can do to make your event even better. I'd love it if you include me in that, but if you don't, here's information. Take it, run with it. Don't be so proprietary with it. What do you think?
Oh, that's absolutely huge. I apologize. They're doing some landscaping work at a house across the street here, so I apologize. A little bit background noise, but here's what you just described is so key. Think about this. A lot of people go to these wedding seminars and so forth.
Right.
But they become so overwhelmed, right? I mean, how many times did you stand up front and you looked out in the audience and it's starry-eyed?
Right.
It's just glassy-eyed. Yeah. And they only remember like 2% of it, 5% of it. Here's what I love. And that the whole ABC, always be closing, is dead and it's been replaced by ABV, always bring value. I love always bring value. Think about this. If you could package down checklists, 10 things to look for, 10 things, 10 ways to capture special moments, 10 ways. And they go beyond what you sell. You may be the caterer, but these are 10 ways to make distant relatives feel comfortable at your wedding, or 5 things for this, or 10 things to do before. You provide various checklists like that go beyond just your role as a caterer, or your role as the DJ, whatever it might be. Right. And think about that. You provide those to, you talk about earning the right, the privilege, honor, respect to be able to meet with people again. Wow. It's huge. And again, you may be delivering seminars. You may be delivering these things as part of a wedding show. They oftentimes have those, things where, hey, listen to this person talk for an hour, what to look for.
Absolutely.
But if I can send this out afterwards, if I can call you up and say, hey, thanks for coming to the show, and I didn't get your right email, but I got this checklist. Right? Not a checklist, but it's really and I think you kind of put your own cool term on it. I want to send it to you. I want to email it to you. I want to mail it to you. And then what do? You get a chance to email that to them. And then 2-3 days later, you can call them back and say, hey, what'd you think of that list I sent you? What did it give you some ideas? What is it doing? It's sparking interest. It's sparking dialogue. It's sparking communication. And I could just, like I always say, bottle of shampoo has a couple key words on it. Rinse and repeat. I can rinse and repeat this 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times with you, because you may have come to the wedding show, and you may not be getting married for 24 months. So, you got to get the venue picked out, that sort of thing. But you may not really narrow down the other things for months. But guess what? I can be boom, 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 sharing that with you. I probably have a very high probability of closing that date and getting you to be able to help you make that a very special day.
Yeah, and especially if it's information they can use, even if they use it, you want them to use it with you. But I try to give them information that even if they don't book me, it's simple enough they could even do it on their own, or they could give it to somebody else. But if I'm delivering the information, then I'm the expert, not that other person.
Yeah,
I'm the one that
you are the expert. Yes. And you brought up a good point. Even if they don't book you, you know what? They may share it with somebody else.
Right.
And somebody else books you.
And what I see a lot of, and I understand it. I think I used to probably do it at some point, but don't give them a checklist of things to look for in a photographer, things to look for in a DJ. No, give them information of, hey, here's some ideas for some great shots of sunset shots or rooftop shots, or I don't know, or here's some information on some new. Hey, did you hear about this new dance that's out now? Here's a link to a video. If you're providing information to them, and then and assume they do book you, which we hope they do. I mean, that's the end goal. I mean, obviously, it's not just to provide information, but the end goal is for them to book you. When you get into that planning process with them, you're not going to have to worry about somebody else taking over the conversation. They're going to be more likely to listen to you because you've been providing them all this information. Guess what? You know what you're talking about. And that so many people don't think about that. I've been talking about equipment all this time. Why don't they know that I know music? Well, because you've been talking about equipment all this time. Or I've been talking about equipment all this time. Why don't they know I know how to take pictures? Because you've been talking about your camera rather than what the end result is going to be. One of the things that when you do this, again, going back to something I heard you say once, is make a list of 10 things, 10 outcomes to help your customers achieve. What are the 10 outcomes at the end of the day with their services with you, or if they contract your services, whether you're a photographer, videographer, caterer, it doesn't matter. What are those 10 outcomes? What are those 10 wants going to look like for them? And I think that's something that an exercise that I've already started on myself, because I didn't really have that. I had maybe 2 or 3. But I love the idea of having, here's 10 outcomes for you of what your day is going to look like at the end of the day. We're running a little short on time. So one of the things I want to jump to real quick is I want to talk about price objection. The dreaded, how much do you charge again? Let's talk a little bit about that. And in some respects, I think that if you deliver value, if you've been talking value all this time, the price tag is not going to be nearly as much of a shocker as if you weren't talking price. So if you're like if you're charging a lot more than what your competitor is, but you're not offering them anything different than what they've been talking about, then when you offer your price and it's 5 times higher than everybody else's, then there's going to be sticker shock. But if you're just if you've been offering value and setting yourself apart, then that sticker shock's not going to be nearly as prevalent. But you're still going to have people that are going to say, you know what, that's not really in my budget. Or is there any way? Oh, the even bigger dreaded. Could you maybe give us a discount on that? How do you respond to those, Mark?
Wow, pricing is so key. I mean, again, everybody always wants everything for free. And the natural comeback is to say that you do not discount your price.
No.
Now, the way you can work around it is to say, yes, we do offer a discount if you prepay 100% upfront. So in other words, you can sit there and say, hey, this wedding's in 18 months. Fine, prepay it now. And we do. We offer you a 15% discount. So I'm not one to be discounting price, because if I discount price and do not take something off the table, all I've done is I've just cut my profit. More importantly, though, with most weddings on Saturdays, the last thing you want to do is commit yourself to a cheap wedding when, guess what, you lost that full revenue wedding opportunity.
Right.
You can't have that. So what you do is you come back and you sit there and say, you know, you're right. I could charge less. However, it's about the experience. It's about what you're going to be thinking after this event's over, and what every one of those 200 guests are going to be thinking when they leave, and the experience of the 200 people or the 100 people. And I love playing the numbers. In other words, wow, this is going to cost me $3,000. It's going to cost me $10,000. You know, for the 250 guests that you're going to have. See, suddenly, when you sit there and say 250 guests, it's not nearly as much. So that's what you have to come back and play with.
So do you believe, let me see if I can phrase this question. Do you believe that millennials purchase different than any other generation?
No. It's all about value. It's all about the emotional experience.
It's all about making that connection.
It's about making that connection. They have to make that connection.
Absolutely. I agree as well, and I think it's a cop-out to blame a generation, because I mean, every generation had its thing. I mean, I come from a generation of long-haired hippie freaks that would eventually run our government, and here we are. Well, I can't tell you, I've enjoyed this conversation so much. What is it that, tell me a little bit about how can if some of my listeners, some people watching this video today, wanted to reach out to you, how would they get a hold of you, Mark?
Well, the best way is going to thesaleshunter.com. Yes, that's my real last name, Hunter. So we had to run with it, thesaleshunter.com. And I'm all over social media. You just type The Sales Hunter into Google or Bing, whatever, and I'll pop up. But yeah, that's the best way. And I've got a couple books out. I have a new book coming out, A Mind for Sales, which I think is really designed for the wedding planner industry, because so many of us in the wedding industry, sales doesn't come natural. Uh-huh. And what A Mind for Sales is going to do is going to help show you. And that book actually comes out in March of 2020. But that's really going to help, I think, a lot of people overcome the fear of, how do you pick up the phone? How do you make it happen?
Absolutely. And as I said, I'm one of those, and I'm looking forward to reading that book myself. So Mark, thank you so much for being with me today. I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, because I'm sure a lot of folks out there are going to be able to use it. I know I've already, as I said, just from seeing you one other time, I'm already starting my list and doing all the things that you've suggested. So until next time, everyone, it was great talking to you. Have I want to say have a great holiday season, because we're so close, but depending on when you watch this video, it may not be. So you know what? Whatever the holiday is closest to you, have a happy holiday, and I'll see you at the end of next month.